was your small wedding ask that turned out to be a big deal? It's been a minute since we covered any wedding pet peeves, so I thought I'd bring one up today. And it's the spirit of, can you just fill in the blank? Listen. Hi, if you're new here, my name is Jamie Wolfer. I'm your online wedding planner, and I'm here to demystify the whole wedding planning process because I understand it can be a little bit chaotic for people, especially when you can't afford to hire a wedding planner, unless you're in the master plan, which is the most affordable professional wedding planning help you can get out there. You should check it out. That was the noise I made for linking it for you. A lot of what I do here is empowering couples to make educated decisions when it comes to their wedding day. But in order to do that, sometimes we have to talk through some of the things that you think are simple, but are probably not as simple as you think they are. So without further ado, let's just jump right into it. What was something you thought was going to be no big deal, but turns out was like trying to solve world hunger? OP will go first. I always hated creases running down table linens. That's always been a major pet peeve of mine, and I decided I was going to make it a priority to get steamed linens. Shouldn't be too hard. Oh, it's hard. Essentially impossible. The venue provides linens, but they won't steam them because they don't have time, which is totally fair. The rental company doesn't do it. They just drop it off. Okay, that's fine. So I hired a coordinator with a setup and teardown team. They can do it, but because our setup time is limited at this venue, steaming and placing signage about all they can do. Bridal party or guests can't do it because we can't get into the venue until 12, and then the steam will ruin their hair and makeup. So I'm this close to placing an ad on Facebook for some high school kid to come steam the linens for me. LOL. But today I finally found a rental company after weeks of searching that offers on-site linen steaming as a service. Now, I'm not in the clear yet because the venue usually likes to set the linens themselves, but I'm hoping I can reason with them or have the venue set the linens and have the rental company steam them anyway. Is this a dumb thing to throw much effort and money at? Absolutely. But I will be doing it because, darn it, I will have my wrinkle-free linens. Sincerely, a type A bride who has potentially fully gone off the deep end. First and foremost, let's take a moment of silence for OP here, because this is truly not a great thing to hyperfixate on. Having wrinkle-free steamed linens the day of your wedding when everything's not working out in your favor. So let's break this down real quick. She wants wrinkle-free linens that need to be steamed. They're coming from a rental company. She did not buy them, though, because we're not doing that. We're not buying our linens, ladies and gentlemen, or if we do, I plan to spend about 45 minutes per linen ironing them straight and then just hoping that they're still straight enough for your actual event. Okay? But usually when you get them from the rental company or if your venue provides them, there's still going to be some minor creasing in them. Not like the ones that you purchase online where they come pretty wrinkled, but like some minor creasing from where the folds happen. So steaming your linens is actually a lot more of a luxury service than people think it is. So it looks like the venue can't do it because they don't have enough staffing to do it, which makes sense. The rental company is not staffed to do it. Usually it's just delivery guys coming in and setting up tables, chairs, and linens according to some sort of schematic. So they're probably not the ones that you want yielding a device full of boiling hot water near your precious linens hours before your event. No hate to my rental dudes. They're really good at what they do. This isn't one of those things. And then you got the coordination staff saying like, hey, we don't have enough staff to do this. That takes more time than you think it does to specifically iron out, and we don't know what the guest count is, to specifically like steam out all of the creases from all of these tablecloths. It's much more of a monumental ask than you think that you're asking. So now this bride has gone above and beyond to find a specific rental company to bring in the linens instead of the usual company that the venue goes with so they can show up and steam the linens and make sure they are absolutely crisp and delicious and to perfection on the wedding day. So not only are we talking about a lot of time and effort and energy that's gone into researching this topic, but this poor bride is probably spending a premium to make sure that this is happening by sourcing an additional or different rental company to come in and do these linens. Now, if this was my client, I'd probably offer to bring in additional employees to cover this. It's not going to be the cheapest expense, but at least I can handle it, I can direct it, and I can make sure those are steamed to perfection. But this coordinating staff might not be equipped to do that. And they said so themselves. They're like, hey, we can't coordinate a wedding and steam all the linens. And I am so extremely grateful that this bride was able to hear that, because so often what we see is we see people being like, you're the coordinator, that's what you do. No, it's not. And if you don't know what a coordinator does, here's a super old school video that I have right up here if you want to check that out to help clarify things a little bit. We are very expensive busboys. We're very expensive setup people. Our cost per hour is not conducive to steaming out wrinkles in your linens. You really want us there to organize your vendors and make sure the DJ knows where to set up and make sure you have the correct amount of chairs at each table. You want us there more in a managerial position than you want us in a grunt work position. Because if you put us in the grunt work position, we're not handling the managerial position. Does that make sense? And even with this couple bringing in an additional rental company, probably paying a premium to have them steam day of, you still run the risk of having steam marks, aka water, getting on your tablecloths right before the event happens, which will very likely not dry in time unless you also brought a blow dryer around to dry them off as quickly as possible. So you can see how what sounds like a very simple request turns into something that can be very big, very complicated, require extra hands, extra money, extra attention to detail, and still has a huge margin of error that can happen. And you know what? Honestly, no hate to OP because I love a crisp linen, okay? It's just not always totally feasible. But OP didn't just come here to air her own woes. No, she invited more. So let's jump into the comments, shall we? Throwaway Guy 2020 says... I will tell you this, we did a lot of stuff ourselves because of our budget, and we plan to steam the linens day of at the venue. And I will tell you, no matter how much you think steaming them won't make them wet, it will. And you'll have a waiting period while it dries. The better you are at it, the less wet it gets, of course, but either way, you have to wait a bit, and it slows down all the rest of the preparation. I'm hopeful for you that it works out, but I agree, this is not easy. This is where, like, if you get linens that have a singular crease or two creases in them from where they're folded, if you get a nicer linen material from the rental company, we discussed this recently in a video, so I may be repeating myself if you're an avid viewer of this channel. You also know this is one huge mistake I made for my wedding, and I don't recommend other people make as well, is purchasing your own and then thinking that you can make them look like the nice bougie rental version. If you get a nice enough quality polyester linen tablecloth, the natural weight of it over time will help to settle down those wrinkles, and they really won't. And I don't even want to call them wrinkles. They're creases from the folding because they've already been professionally dry cleaned and steamed very, very likely somewhere throughout the process, but it's going to be very difficult to get all of those last minute clean lines out. And hats off to Throwaway Guy for calling this to attention. But yeah, if you're spending all that time steaming every individual tablecloth, let's say it takes 20 minutes of tablecloth, which, you know, seems pretty accurate based on my more limited experience with steaming tablecloths. And let's say you had 10. That's 200 minutes of steaming. That means for every single table that you're steaming, you then need to let it cool down and or dry afterwards, and then start assembling things on top of it. Now, potentially you can put your centerpieces and stuff like that on top of it beforehand. And honestly, I just wanted to call attention to this because it proves that I'm right. See? Linens are a beast. Okay. Sometimes you just need to order them from a rental company and have them set it up or have the venue set it up for you, and then just, hope that the creasing from the ironing or from the dry cleaning will come out while it's sitting there. Just let gravity do its thing. Here was my technique. I really prioritize having creaseless linen, so I ironed them at home 2 to 3 days before. I'm a quilter, so I'm used to a lot of ironing and have a good ironing setup. I layered them all carefully in a pile and rolled them around pool noodles, starting at one end. 100% worth it to me only. Probably. Oh my gosh. How does that not crease though? And like, what kind of vehicle do you have that once they're around the pool noodle that you can gently place them in the back of it and rolling them smoothly enough that they wouldn't be wrinkling throughout that process? That makes my brain hurt. What else did people say to this? We consider this, but with everything else we had to do leading up to the wedding, the ironing time for the number of linens was insane. But if you can do it, that's the way to go. Definitely better for day of. No, wait, this is genius. Try it first. Do me a favor, just practice first. OP says, this is a good point. I think hopefully having the linen rental company themselves do it right when setup opens should help. I assume they have pro gear and an efficient process, so they'll be done several hours before the reception. I hope. Well, that, of course, returns back to the initial issue that you had of not having the venue space open early enough. So this is all contingent on how big their crew is, how many steamers they're bringing, how fast these steamers work, and how much time they're able to be in there working on these linens. But any hoodles, on to further complaints, shall we? Mine was the invites. I ordered from Minted and originally went with a double-sided flat invite. When I got them, I realized I'd forgotten to put please RSVP by blank, by date, anywhere on the invitation. No, this is why we have people proofread your invitations, people. I then ordered an additional little insert card that had a QR code to our website on it, but the promo code I'd originally used was now expired, so they were now more expensive. Then, since I had 2 pieces going in the envelope, I felt like it needed a little belly band kit to tie it all together. That makes sense. So I went from doing a simple single piece invite to save money to doing a 2-piece set assembled with a belly band, seal, and dried flower. Okay, well, now you're just escalating things on your own, but I do love where this is going for you. Oh, and I somehow miscounted the second insert when ordering and needed to order more, which they only allow you to do in increments of 5, starting with a minimum order of 10. I was short 3. No. My original invites were $450 for 70 households, so $643 per invite. My F-up cost me additional $365, so I ended up spending a whopping $815 on invites, or $1164 per invite. I originally wanted to use this local printer to do a custom invitation suite, but passed due to the cost. The funny part is they were about $12 per invite, which I basically ended up spending anyway. No! No! So you paid a custom cost for your custom invites. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Oh no, OP said, I feel like I've heard so many horror stories about invitation ordering going wrong. I haven't ordered mine yet, but I will make sure to pay extra attention. Please have someone else proofread your invitations. Please ask your fiance to take a look at them. Your mom, your maid of honor, someone in your life, just be like, hey, can you read this and let me know if I'm missing any information? My parents, before they got married in the early marriage, they worked in youth ministry. And one thing that they always required that they do in their office is that if they were going to pass out a flyer for some sort of activity, other people had to read it. Like they had to pass it all around and make sure it had all of the answers on it. Time, location, including address, any additional details parents might want to know. And of course, people are still going to call even when all of the answers are literally right there on the invitation. Remember that one video we did a couple months back where it's like, guests don't even read. And it's like, well, yeah, if you write everything in paragraph form, you're going to lose them really quickly, especially in the age of TikTok and short form content. But that's something I've adopted for my clients as well. If they're doing like minted or any other sort of like print it yourself style wedding invitation, I'll be like, just send it to me just so I can give it a cursory glance and make sure we've got all the things that we need to have on there. Just a second set of eyes. Of course, I'm a professional in this capacity, so hopefully I wouldn't miss anything, right? Right. I would never. I haven't yet. And then when it comes to the overall count for what you're ordering, this is one of those measure twice, cut once kind of moments, okay? So like really, 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 after you do the proofreading, double check. And if this person like is hearing me say this, they're like, I know that now. Yeah, thank you for sharing your story on the internet so other people can learn from your situation. Next, we're not doing traditional florals. The plan was to DIY some bud vases and get big arrangements from Something Borrowed Blooms for the ceremony. Oh, I do love Something Borrowed Blooms. We had a meeting with our caterer yesterday, and although they include a day of coordinator, that's not a thing. Caterers don't have a day of coordinator. And our venue includes a day of coordinator. That's also not a thing. Okay. Okay. We'll get it. Stop, Jamie. Read the rest of it, and then we'll get to it. They both said that setting up a centerpiece of 5 bud vases and 3 candles on each dinner table would take too much time, and I'd have to hire someone else to do it. So what I thought was a simple centerpiece would actually cost like $1 to $2K extra in labor, and now I'm just renting one-piece centerpieces from Something Borrowed Blooms because our catering day of coordinator is fine with one and done. Okay, you have an event captain through your catering staff. They might assign a different title, okay? You have a venue manager or a venue coordinator assigned through a venue. A day of coordinator is someone that you outsource yourself, an independent third-party company that you pay directly that is there to serve your needs and to make sure what you want happens on your wedding day. A venue coordinator, at the end of the day, their paycheck comes from the venue and they're beholden to what the venue wants them to do. They have a full set of tasks that they're supposed to accomplish throughout the day. Same with a catering manager or a catering day of coordinator. This is another pet peeve of mine, is when these venues and caterers use terms like day of coordinator because these poor couples are like, I don't understand. This is what a day of coordinator is supposed to do. Like, you're supposed to help out with these things. Why aren't you stepping in with this? Because that's not actually what they are. They're using a term that couples understand, sure, but those roles don't actually fulfill the role of a day of coordinator. This person replies, okay, but that kind of seems silly, LOL. I feel like, yeah, it'll take more time than throwing a pre-made centerpiece down, but maybe like a minute or 2 tops per table to do what you want. I'm doing the same thing, and my day of coordinator wasn't phased at all, thankfully. I feel like this is becoming more and more common because it's beautiful, but more budget friendly. Okay. This is a great comparison. My guess is this second commenter has an actual day of coordinator they've sourced themselves, and they've run through the DIY with this coordinator specifically. When working with clients, the line that I use that is usually the most helpful is, if it's typically done by a professional vendor on your wedding day or on a wedding day, we don't automatically do it. So if there's usually a florist, we don't automatically do it. If there's usually a baker, we don't automatically do it. If there's usually a DJ, we don't automatically do it. So when you think of an event and you know that there's like a professional person that exists in that category that will be dropping that item off, we as day of coordinators or as wedding planners, depending on how long you hire us for, do not automatically fulfill those services. Like we talked about earlier, we're really expensive grunt workers, and you don't want us doing that because we do have other things that we need to manage, and we do have other things that we need to run. We are not just hired hands to do setup and tear down. We can bring those in, of course. I love doing that for my clients because then I can keep it in-house and really manage the tasks getting done, but I also have no problem organizing and managing volunteers when necessary. But with my cost per hour, borderline nonsensical to have me alone setting out bud vases and candles and table runners and table numbers and favors. All that stuff starts to add up over time. So while it does sound to you possibly like it's a super simple exercise and really, really easy to accomplish very quickly, that doesn't necessarily mean that it is. In fact, what we're not saying is that 2 day of coordinators from the venue and from the catering staff might have looked at this level setup and said, okay, you said 5 bud vases and 3 candles, but it's on top of a bed of moss, on top of a wood round, with a table runner coming down it. We don't have extra staff to come set up all those items for you. We're not equipped to come do that setup for you. So while this commenter goes, oh, it's only another 1 to 2 minutes, I don't understand. Might I suggest signing up for a little summer internship or job with your local catering company, and then you might understand all the elements that go into it behind the scenes over there. Also, if a client asked me to put out multiple bud vases and candles, I would not be doing it. I would say, okay, we normally have a minimum of 2 staff persons who come to a wedding day, like the lead planner and then the assistant planner. They've got too many things going on, setting up signage, guest book, checking with vendors, making sure everyone has what they need, coming to check on you, that we are at capacity with our services. We don't have any extra room for doing a lot of this setup. What we can do though is we can bring in an additional set of hands to accomplish this for you for X amount for the day or X amount for however many hours we might happen to need them. Finally, a place to rant about my hotel block woes. I hate hotel blocks. I'm sorry. I hate hotel blocks so much. And I always want to tell people just skip it. It's like up there with transportation for me. Like, don't give yourself more administrative work than you have to. Okay, anyways, I had people coming in from out of town, so I booked a courtesy block at a hotel near the reception venue. I asked if I could add some shoulder dates to either side of the event date since some of them will be traveling in early, but I didn't know how many. It was like pulling teeth to get them to agree to offer the same price of the courtesy block for those other dates. At one point, the manager said she wanted to redraw our agreement to put us on the hook for unused rooms, which was the exact opposite of what we wanted. Ultimately, I typed out our priorities piece by piece. I wanted the discounted / bulk room rate for our event in a courtesy block. Then I wanted the 5 rooms that would be staying extra nights to get that same rate. They agreed that I wasn't asking too much after a while, and it was mostly smooth sailing from there. Okay, there's a difference between a courtesy block and a contracted block. A courtesy block is like, hey, yeah, we'll give this to you at a discounted rate. If we don't have a book by this date, we'll reopen it to the public. It's not a big deal. A contracted block is, and I might not be using the correct term for the second one because I always get them confused, is where you are locked into a contract, where you are legally liable for filling in those rooms should they not be booked within a certain amount of time. The reason this situation got weird and or difficult for the hotel was most people don't ask for dates beyond the day before and the night of the event. And so there's no guarantee that those rooms are going to be booked out and continue at that discounted rate for people who may or may not be showing up early, especially when you don't have a firm number. It's a lot harder of a sell for a hotel. So I personally completely understand where the hotel is coming from with this one of like, no, you'll get discounted rates for like maybe the night before and the night of, but we can't extend it another 2-3 days for people who you think might be showing up early. And, you know, obviously the commenter then looked at the people that were coming early and said, okay, can we just extend it for these 5 rooms? That is still an unusual request based on my understanding of hotel blocks. Courtesy and or otherwise, but because they were able to be more specific about this request, they were able to see that through. If you are trying to put together a hotel block, because I understand there are situations where you don't really have a choice. Like for example, when we lived in like inland Southern California in the Temecula area, there's a hot air balloon festival that happens once a year. And people come in from all over the country, if not all over the world, to be a part of this. And this was, I don't know, a couple years into my career. And I hadn't really considered this because where I'd lived previously had plenty of hotels and we never really ran into an issue with this. But when we were in the Temecula area, people would just flock to these hotels to be a part of this hot air balloon festival or go witness it, etc. And so I had a couple getting married around that time and they had to get a room block set up. Otherwise, there would be nothing left. There would be no options. So I am aware that there are circumstances, whether it be a holiday weekend or a hot air balloon festival in a smaller-ish town. I know Temecula is not a very small town, but or there's limited hotel space. There are times when they are absolutely necessary, but I do really feel like we are growing out of the necessity of having them for every single event. At least, dear goodness, I hope so, because they drive me nuts. Can you tell? This person says, no, this is so real. It's literally the one singular thing about my wedding that still haunts me, which I know means I'm very lucky overall. And it's because I emphasized to my planner several times over the months leading up to my wedding that it was very important to me that the tablecloths not be creased straight from the rental company. I can't explain it, but there were so many other little details I was willing to overlook except that. And she continually reassured me they'd be ironed. That's not the same thing. Yeah, creased and ironed. They could still be creased after being ironed. I'd like to think I was a pretty easygoing bride, so I thought that my one high maintenance request would have been taken seriously. Nope. It's a small detail that other people probably wouldn't notice either way, but if it's something you will notice and you will appreciate, then it's 100% worth it. Good on you for making this happen. Now, to throw a little bit of salt on the situation that might have been conversational, the bride might have said like, hey, I don't want them to be wrinkled. Like, I don't want to be wrinkled and creased on my wedding day. And the planner's like, no, don't worry, they come ironed. Okay, I don't want them to be creased on my wedding day. No, don't worry. They come ironed. Because she's right. They do come ironed. But I think the miscommunication here, and this could totally be the planner's fault for not understanding this, or I'm not blaming the commenter on the situation at all, is that yes, they will come wrinkle-free, but they will come with creases from hanging on the hangers from the rental company. And it's that nuance that was really important here. And if I had a client that kept bringing it up, being like, no, I just want to double check. They're not going to be wrinkled. I would go, okay, hold on. What do you mean? Do you mean like you don't want them to look like they got pulled out of the bottom of a hamper, like wrinkled, or you want to make sure there's no lines in them whatsoever? Those are two different things. And it could be the commenter not understanding that or the wedding planner not communicating that. But yes, those are two different things. We want to make sure they look nice and fresh from the dryer and then have been folded and put on a hanger, which means they'll have some neat little lines from being folded. Or do you want to make sure there's no lines in these tablecloths at all whatsoever? So help me God. This person said, are you perhaps over-focusing on this because you feel like you don't have control over other parts of your wedding planning? I don't think so. Okay, I'm not even going to read this. I entered a state of zen about a week before. That's incredible. So glad. Okay, I'm just going to read the next one. The gosh darn hotel block. I'm telling you, there's a reason that people think that they're so simple and they just become complicated. My mother-in-law's family made me absolutely insane because they started asking for the hotel block info 18 months before our wedding. No, hotel wouldn't even talk to me unless it was less than a year out. It took 3 months to get the block set up because they kept screwing up all the dates and room types and were not responsive at all. I dealt with them complaining for months about why I was withholding this information and not letting them book. I had to include our website on the save the dates so they could all book because waiting until 5 months out was ridiculous. Oh no. I think room blocks are still very much the cultural thing for a lot of people. And it is a luxury experience, like very, very much to get a room block and set up, especially if you're getting married in that hotel. That's like another tier of weddings, right? That's when we're talking like at a $75K minimum wedding is when we're really kind of dealing with a lot of this stuff. So what could have happened here is that this commenter's in-laws are used to that caliber of wedding or used to the tradition of having room blocks. Clearly, they're used to it for some reason. But dealing with a less expensive hotel or a lower wedding budget overall means it's just not as serious at that budget specifically. Then the entire family booked the block immediately in less than a week and flipped out that it was full. Mind you, they all live across town from the venue. It's 20 minutes away, Sharon. Calm down. My life was absolute hell until my mother-in-law's family all booked out the entire hotel block twice before I even sent out invitations. Mostly because the blocks were for 1 king bed only rooms and people were trying to book 2 queen rooms or trying to book outside the date range because no one can read instructions. I literally beat a dead horse on our website with FAQs and too much information so people wouldn't bug us. And I'm still getting texts about how to RSVP or where the hotel block is. Oh no. Well, did you write in paragraph form? Sorry, but did you? Opie says, my nightmare. Based on the responses to this thread, apparently hotel blocks are the worst to orchestrate. They're not great. I am learning that lesson right now, actually. I just found out 10 minutes ago that the only nearby hotel, this is a domestic destination wedding, so everyone is traveling, doesn't do room blocks. Our venue recommended them to us too. That was a big reason why we booked, because the hotel is gorgeous and has a casino and a spa, and it's basically a resort. Ugh. Okay, well, hopefully if it's that size and there's nothing else around the day, you should be okay. If they don't offer room blocks, most of the time people figure it out, especially with Airbnb and Vrbo and all these other options that people can book nowadays. Like, I'm less worried about it. I also really wanted non-creased linens, but after asking around and getting the cost, decided that was something I just couldn't swing. So I applaud you keeping it going. Mine were the effing chairs. Our venue came with perfectly fine and comfortable chairs, but they wouldn't set them up outdoors for the ceremony or bring them inside after the ceremony. We thought we'd arrange this with our caterer, but 2 weeks beforehand, they clarified they could bring them in, but not set them up, so we had to pay $250 for our rental company for other items, staff to set up and move the free chairs. Still cheaper and more comfortable than renting, but the amount of time I spent trying to figure out what should have been a very easy problem was mind-boggling. The venue coordinator said that most people rent chairs to look nicer. For the setup issue, but I didn't really feel like spending $1,000 on other chairs when the ones they included were perfectly fine. So this is a staffing issue. And this is obviously something that we're going to run into a lot with these conversations. It's a staffing issue. Moving chairs from the ceremony to the reception means a lot of bodies moving a lot of chairs in a very short amount of time. Now, even if it's like 2-3 people, it's going to take them an extended period of time to move 100+ chairs from one location to the next and then do the correct chair count at each table. In a situation like this, ideally you want 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 people moving a bunch of chairs really quickly, getting them set up really quickly. So then you're not worried about or dealing with chairs being shuffled around while centerpieces are being placed, while linens are being set, and other things are going on the tabletops. Again, fully dependent on your setup time. These might have already been done, but it's one of those things where the venue's not staffed for it. They don't have people on hand to be able to pull that off. The catering staff has enough people to bring them inside, but probably not enough people to spare for the finesse of setting them up at the tables. That one's a little bit more weird to me. Like, if you could bring them in, why can't we put them at the tables? But clearly they have a reason. They're like, we're just not staffed for this. We can't pull that off. So an additional $250 is not a big deal. And my guess is the venue's like, yeah, we don't have enough people. You can pick inside or outside, and that'll be done before your wedding day even begins. But we don't have additional staff on hand to do this moving for you. Again, what I'm seeing here is more luxury expectations with less than luxury budget. And for $250, you dodged a bullet. You're still saving a ton of money. And that's honestly a really, really good quote for doing something like this. So hats off to you for continuing to try to make it happen. But again, as we're seeing, it's harder than you think. Thanks. Now we'll be thinking about how creased the linens are at my wedding. For us, it's that our ceremony will be outside in mid-December, and we had planned to offer throw blankets to guests. That was before we realized providing even half of our 165-person guest list is going to cost us hundreds of dollars. We want to offer comfort. We already got hand warmers, but the venue won't put heaters in the ceremony space since it's in a wooded area, which is understandable. No. Yeah, that one's really hard. I would say like Dollar General might be your bestie for the rescue on this one. Like, is there a way, do they sell blankets? I mean, they're not going to be cute, and they're going to be very cheap feeling and looking and cost, which is great. Or I would see if you could borrow quilts and blankets from friends and family members and just stuff them in baskets and have it like all overflowing at the entrance so people can grab those and cozy on up if they want to, right? Now that does require a little bit more setup, and that definitely requires the dedication of making sure they're all picked up, put back in baskets, back in a vehicle, and get back to the appropriate people afterwards. But I would say, either buy in bulk from some really discounted store, start thrifting, start borrowing, doing something like that so you can still achieve that vision that you want without setting the entire wooded area on fire. We want a particular craft beer at our wedding. We thought that venue would be able to order cans, but the brewery doesn't have distribution in the state where we got married, so we had to supply the cans ourselves. So my husband went on an extended day trip buying cans in a few packs at a time from any grocery store or beer store that had it. At that point, I'd say hey, make a day out of it and enjoy it, or pick a different beer. But I understand some people get very excited about their beers. My husband's into IPAs, if that tells you anything about him as a person. Getting some extra uplights during the reception was apparently a huge mission at our venue. I still can't believe it was so complicated. So many wedding photos taken there over the years showed some extra uplighting around the room, but no one could share info on who they had rented from, who coordinates putting them in, who makes sure they are set to the right colors. My fiance and I were calling around the entire city in the last 2 weeks before our wedding trying to get it figured out. DJs. DJs normally offer lighting packages, whether it's like, you know, like the whatever it is, or uplights. Like those are all, most frequently, we don't hire an uplight vendor. We just source them through the DJ. One, I asked for a child-free wedding and it ended up destroying my relationship with my entire extended family, while my friends, whose kids are my godchildren, were super chill about not bringing the kids. Yikes. 2, gave our DJ a basic list of do not plays. No Taylor Swift and Ed Sheeran. Everything else was fair game. And he completely disregarded it to the point of there being a photo of me arguing with my DJ because he kept killing the dance floor. Okay. Here's what's a little bit difficult about that situation is when like a DJ knows that something is going to be like a total banger for the dance floor. I mean, obviously the bride's saying like he's killing the dance floor, so it's moot here. And if you have a do not playlist, I do feel like a DJ should honor that. I think when the do not play gets really extensive, which is not the case here, but when it gets like really big and really extensive and you kind of like take all of the boomers songs out of it, and so there's no reason for them to come on the dance floor, or DJ's like, you've taken off all of my biggest crowd pleasers. Like I get that you find them annoying, and frankly, a lot of us vendors probably find them annoying as well because we hear them all the time, but people who don't go to weddings that often get really excited about certain songs. So I personally can understand saying no to Taylor Swift and Ed Sheeran because there's a lot of that. And maybe they're just not an artist that you vibe with. But to the point where you literally are up there arguing with the DJ, and there's a picture of it, and he's not understanding, and you're like, I said no. And he's like, what? I can't hear you over the shape of you. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I can't really save the DJ from this one. Just like... The commenter's right in this scenario. Natural makeup. Took 3 trials with 3 different professional makeup artists to get a natural look that matched my fair skin tone after being super clear that I wanted a no makeup look. This one's really hard because a lot of people think that a no makeup look, again, I don't know what this person's talking about, like I don't know what the reference photos were, etc. Is sometimes when people say they want a really natural look and then bring in like a total airbrushed, completely like made to the nines makeup look, it just doesn't have a lot of bright or dark colors. So I get it, and I'm proud of this commenter for looking around and continuously trying to find the right artist for them for their wedding day. This is why specifically trials are so very important. And also talking with a makeup artist that explains terms to you is really important as well. So if you're showing them photos and saying like, hey, I really want a natural makeup look, this is what I'm going for, they can give you feedback of, okay, that wouldn't be the term that we use for this look. This would be soft glam. This is a soft glam look, but because what you're seeing here is you're seeing a full coverage foundation, you're seeing lash extensions or falsies that were applied, you're seeing like a really clean but pretty broad cat eye. You're seeing a lot of this happening. Here's what I'm seeing in this photo that leads me to believe that you want, instead of natural, soft glam. So just so you know, for reference for next time, that's probably a little bit more of the term that you're looking for. But obviously I'm a big fan of empowering couples to like understand what they're talking about and understand what they're paying for. So I encourage you to find other vendors that do the same. Wanting to have an uninterrupted area to get ready with my bridesmaids. The groom's mom, aunt, and cousins couldn't understand why they couldn't come get ready in that already small area with us. LOL. I literally had this one client that I couldn't come to their wedding. I found out I was pregnant with my son. And I warned them way ahead of time, like, hey, they found out before I went public with it. Like, hey, I'm not going to be there. So there was a replacement. There was someone else leading their wedding day, and they were not happy about it. I actually did a podcast on this forever ago. I got a scathing email from the groom on all the ways that we messed up on the wedding day. And like one of the suggestions or frustrations was that we didn't have a guard posted outside the bride's getting ready space. And I was like, that's not, when did we discuss having a guard? Because people kept trying to come in. People kept trying to come in and say hi and just pop in. Hey, no, it's okay. I know the bride. I just want to say hi to her for a sec. You wouldn't be here if you didn't know one of them. Okay? You wouldn't be here if you didn't know somebody here. Otherwise, that'd be really weird. So no, you can't come into the space. No, you can't come do that. Like, thank you, but also no thanks. So if you too are worried about this, don't tell people where you're getting ready. Or lock the door and blast the music and be like, I can't hear you. I'm so sorry. We couldn't hear you. Weird. All right, we're going to wrap it up with this comment just because it really brings everything full circle for me. I also thought ironing a few tablecloths was no big deal. Girl, it took hours. I don't remember the cost now, but I'm pretty sure it would have been worth it. It would have been worth it to not have to iron the tablecloths. Listen, planning a wedding, especially when trying to plan it on a budget without a long-term planner, a lot of times couples will think, oh, it's got to be easy. Oh, we'll just do this. Can we just do this? Can we just throw this together? And I get it. You've never done this before. You're not supposed to be good at this, and you're not supposed to know what you're doing. There will be circumstances though where you think something is a lot more simple than what you're asking, or you just don't have someone to turn to ask these questions beforehand so you can make an educated decision that works well for your time and your budget and your energy. And that's literally the reason I created the master plan. I'm going to go and link it right up here if you haven't checked it out yet. I do live monthly phone calls where I answer questions just like this, where you're like, hey, I have bought my own linens. They're super wrinkly. We're ironing them ahead of time. I want them to be crease free. What can I do to make sure that happens on my wedding day? And then I can walk you through those steps in live time. Or if you get a response from your venue of saying that they won't set out your centerpieces, I can give you an explanation behind that. Or of course, always you can subscribe to this channel for more tips and tricks for the modern day bride and get on down there and like the video if you like the video. But if you want more intentional, professional feedback and professional help, please come join me in the master plan where I'm there in real time every single month chatting with y'all because you deserve to have a stress-free wedding day, okay? And until next week, bye guys.